What's so special about Hero Bread's soft, fluffy, and delicious breads, buns, and tortillas? Hero Bread serves up 0 to 1 grams of net carbs, 5 to 11 grams of protein, and high fiber in every delicious serving. Made with natural ingredients, Hero Bread supports gut health, promotes weight management, and helps maintain blood sugar. Hero also drops other limited edition ultra-low net carb goodies like rich flaky croissants and buttery brioche slider rolls. Head to hero.co to shop today.
Hi guys, welcome to Cozy Room Podcast. My mommy Shan.
Hey!
My sister Ari.
Say hi, Ari.
Hey. And I'm Anya.
Let's go! Hey, this is Shan, mom of the girls. Thank you for checking in. If this is your first time at Cozy Room Podcast, welcome. It's a very random but frequently posted show. Enjoy what you can when you can. It's for new parents. Y'all are very welcome. It's for second, third, or more time around parents too. And I did not forget those of you who aren't quite there yet, haven't had your first kid, but you're thinking about it and you're just curious on what it takes to go ahead and survive the kids that you may make. Cool. Since we're all here, let's get into today's episode. Hey, Kai. Thank you for joining us for Cozy Room Podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You are definitely our first photographer, and your specialty is newborn photography, which I've always loved looking at, but I've had 2 kids and I've never done it.
Okay. You'd be surprised how many parents you hear haven't really done it for some and doing it for others. So don't worry, you're not the only one.
Do you have kids? Have you done it with your kids?
Yes, so I have 2 kids. Funny enough, my daughter did get it done, but she was the guinea pig for a girl who was my coworker who just wanted to get into it. So that was my first real interaction with it. And for my son, I did his pictures myself.
Oh, so when you took your daughter to get her pictures done, were you doing it yet, or you haven't started?
Man, I wasn't even thinking about it yet.
Okay. So now I'm interested. So what got you into wanting to do it?
Okay. So not really surprisingly. I mean, for myself, when I look back, I'm like, oh, the signs were there. But I always loved photography.
See, I love photography too. And I thought that was going to be like something I would minor in college. Because in art class in high school, my art teacher, she allowed us to make a camera out of like a shoebox. And we had a dark room and everything. So I was like, oh, I said, so this is kind of interesting. And then I kind of like didn't think about it and didn't really get into photography. But when I do see like good pictures and photographers with a good eye, I can always point them out. So just in case you guys missed the small story. So basically Kai, her first session that she did with a newborn was her son. But she hit up like a friend that she knew to see if she can practice on his daughter. He had a newborn and she went to his house. She took her 2-month-old son with her. And her friend went with her on the job to go ahead and watch her son while she took photos. So that was like her second baby that she was taking newborn photos with. And she kept it very simple just to get a hang of what she was doing. And from then on, she's just been on a roll. And she's been taking pictures of, different clients' kids, loving it, finding her own way around how she wants to take positions and creating like her own props and just really getting into what she likes to do. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. So when you went to go take your daughter to get her pictures done for the first time, what made you say, this is something I have to do?
So I actually wasn't thinking that at that point. So my kids have quite a gap between them. My daughter just turned 11 in August, and my son will be 4 in November.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had no idea that I wanted to go into photography at all. I mean, I liked photography, but I never really had that, say, passion to say I wanted to make it a career. I actually went to school for child and youth worker, graduated my program and everything. And my last semester of school, I was pregnant with my daughter. So trust me, when I say it wasn't in my mind, it wasn't in my mind at all. At all. It wasn't until I was at the last company I worked for.
So Kai had like this epiphany when she was pregnant with her son, where she just turned around to a friend and said, I'm going to start taking pictures of newborns. And let me say this as a woman, because I can only speak from women. When women set their minds up and really stick to their thoughts, you don't question why they're happening. You don't know what's making you, like, quote unquote, go in balls deep on what you're saying. But you just have like a gut feeling like this is what I need to do. So her friend was like, okay, cool. So how can we plan it? What do we need to do? What would you need? Let's think about, how we can get started. And to have friends that will back you on the ideas that you have is irreplaceable. To have friends who support you, and for her to be pregnant and having these thoughts and just making time to go to these classes and webinars and just really get what she needs to get out of, going forth and starting her own business, because that's basically what it is. When it comes into planning with clients, handling other people's new babies, having props, having a setup, scheduling, managing your family, managing your time, you are starting a business. So in order to do it and basically still feel like you're doing something that you're passionate about, you need a team, you need support. And she had that. And I think that's what really pushes people to create the best outcomes out of, artistically feeding people through pictures, through images, through art, through product. You have to feed people's passions, and you have to have a support team that will support you and won't say, you know what, no, you're crazy. Why would you want to do baby photography all of a sudden? Because I feel it. This is something I need to do. This is something I can do. And she put her mind to it, and voila.
Oh, well, my very first baby that I ever photographed was my son. Let's just say I really didn't know what I was doing.
Did you use props?
I used a little kind of blanket and maybe 2 props, but nothing like prop wise what you see on like the images that I post now. It was really basic. I think I may have put him in like a little basket, put a little wrap over him. But I mean, if I be honest with myself, there's one picture that I was really lucky to get because it came out looking so good. But if you see the others, you'd probably be like, yeah.
So that's what I'm curious about. Like, in one session, like, about how long is it to get enough pictures to choose from with a newborn?
So my sessions now, I always tell parents, so they get a prep email from me before they actually come in, and in my email it tells them that the session can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I cap it at 4 hours because 4 hours you're just overworking the baby. And to be honest, if I'm going to 4 hours, it's because the baby was fussy or the baby needed more time to settle down. I've had babies that have been gassy, so those are situations that take longer. But if I get a baby that comes in, gets fed his milk or her milk, and they are out, then I'm just going, and it really flows. So to be honest, a lot of the time is a settling time. And then the other thing that takes time is just the little details. So like certain poses, I want to make sure the fingers are a certain way. I'm a kind of a little bit of a perfectionist. So I'll take a picture, I'll look at my camera, and then I'm like, no, I need to change this, and I'll change it. But one thing you learn is you always have to try and take a safe shot, because if you go back to try and fix the baby and baby says, I'm not having it, they're not having it. But yes, 2 to 4 hours.
Okay, so do you recommend people like in your like prep email? Do you recommend them feed the baby or bring like things that calm the baby down?
So what I usually tell parents to do, I usually ask them to feed the baby about half an hour before they leave out to come to me. As I know you're a mom as well, and as most moms know, once baby's in that car seat and the car starts moving, baby usually knocks out. Usually. Right. Yeah. So once the baby gets to me, they're still sleepy. And then I can usually start with a pose. Depending on how deep of a sleep I feel they're in will determine on what pose I will start with. Sometimes when they come in and they are awake, I'll ask parents if they just want to top them up with the feeding, and then I'll do a pose where they're wrapped up. Once they're wrapped up, they usually fall back asleep because they're all warm and snuggled and swaddled, and they usually doze off. So for the most part, from that point, then I'll go into more of the complex posing that requires them to be sleeping, because there are certain poses that I can't even do if the baby's awake.
So let's say I was pregnant and I'm supposed to be due, let's say next week. How far ahead should I be planning a photographer to take pictures of my newborn? And what's the time frame that you have to where those pictures can get done or they can't?
So I usually tell people to contact me once they're in their second trimester. Wow. I do have people that reach out to me as soon as they find out they're pregnant. They're like, yeah, I'm ready. I've been stalking your page. I'm ready to book. And I'm like, it's all good and well. Congratulations. But I do I tell them, God forbid anything happens. Of course, I don't want the worst to happen, but do wait till you're in your second trimester, just because, especially as a first-time mom, you're really excited, but miscarriage is such a common thing that I don't want to be there collecting session fees and so forth, and then you're messaging me and you unfortunately lost the baby. And I mean, in this field, I've dealt with parents who have lost their baby later in their pregnancy. I've had a client who lost her baby, unfortunately, after birth. So you definitely deal with different things that can happen to different parents. But in the terms of booking, I usually do ask them just to wait till the second trimester. Let's get over the first 3 months, and then we're good to go. So most people usually reach out to me around then. But the number one question I usually get is, how are we going to know what day the baby's going to be born? When do we take the pictures?
Yeah.
What I usually tell them is, so let's say you said you were due next week, and you would have hopefully booked me a couple months ago. So I would have had your due date in my calendar as your temporary session date. And then once baby arrives, you just send me, they have my phone number. So they'll text me, they'll email me, whatever the case may be. And they'll just say, hey, baby's here. And it's once they're actually discharged from the hospital is when I will go ahead and book the session. Just because you never know if baby will have to stay in for jaundice, for extra blood work. So I don't want to just assume that everyone will be out in the normal 24 hours. So once I have a discharge date is when we'll go forward. I usually try to get them in within the first 2 weeks, as long as baby has no complications and had to stay in. So for the most part, I do it within that time period, but I have taken pictures of babies. The last baby I actually recently posted on my social media, he was actually 1 day short of being 6 weeks. So it's possible for older babies. It's just a little easier when they're fresh because they're extra curly and super sleepy.
That's what I thought, because with my first daughter, I was like, well, maybe I want to do it, or maybe I don't. And then weeks went by, I was like, now she's just too big. Now she's just too active, and I just can't. So
she's running across the room.
Right. So I'm just like, nah. And then, like when you have your second kid, all of like the stuff that you thought you needed to do with the first kid, you think, oh, that's not important. So I didn't get any pictures like newborn wise of like the second baby. I'm just like, well, just make sure she's safe and she gets from point A to point B in one piece. So when it comes to having like a successful shoot, I know people ask about how much experience do you have, how much time is the session, the price, how many people can come to the session. Does anybody ask you like, what are the safety measures you're going to take throughout the shoot?
Surprisingly, no. I've never had anyone ask me about safety. But what did happen is the closest I've gotten to that is one day I posted a photo of a baby that I took. Yeah. And I posted it in a group that I'm in, kind of just promoting my business. And I had I can't say a parent because I'm not actually, she was a parent. Yes, I take that back. Sorry. I had someone comment and she said something along the lines of, I will admit this is a very cute photo. However, baby looks very unsafe. I would never do all of this just for a photo. When my daughter was 2 weeks, she was so small, so I can't imagine. So I actually wrote back to her and I said, I appreciate the concern, but this photo is actually an illusion. It kind of made it look like the picture that I posted seemed like the baby was hanging in a hammock, but she really wasn't hanging. So I explained to her, I'm like, this is actually an illusion. And, safety is the number one priority when it comes to newborn photography. Like, I would never do a pose if the baby is screaming bloody murder, because that means the baby's uncomfortable. Like, you can tell. There's a difference between a baby being like, and kind of making little noises, because obviously they may need to settle into a pose, and some babies will take longer to settle into some poses than other will. But if this baby's like screaming at the top of their lungs and just totally fighting you, the baby doesn't like the pose. The baby's uncomfortable, and you just need to say, you know what, this isn't gonna work. Yeah.
So let's say if a parent was coming to a shoot and they had the newborn and they had like a 3-year-old with them or a 5-year-old, is it more difficult to manage the safety of the newborn with an older kid, or does it make it a bit easier because one could follow direction and the other one you just have to put in certain positions?
It depends on the sibling. That I will say. I've had siblings, when it comes time to do the sibling, like baby and sibling photos, the sibling wants nothing to do with the newborn. They're like, listen, they're looking at me like, I don't want to lay down beside this baby. I don't want to touch this baby. I don't want nothing to do with this baby. So those ones are a little bit more difficult. Sometimes you have to bribe them. So you have a lollipop here or whatever the case may be. But for the most part, I will say I've been lucky. I hope, maybe I should knock on wood. I hope I'm not cursing myself. But I've been lucky to have siblings who are ready to pose, ready to take pictures. So it's been okay so far, but you will definitely get the ones that are like, no, I don't want to take pictures, or no. And you have to just give them a little time. And what I'll usually do is do a different pose, give them a little time to settle in again, and then we'll try again with them after.
What is like your favorite part during like the whole session or just the experience?
Sorry?
What's your favorite part throughout the sessions that you have, or just the experience with all the different newborns?
You know what? For me, it's after the session takes place. Once I'm editing the photos and I'm finally seeing like the final images of it, that's the part where I'm like, oh my gosh, look at their little cheeks or their little feet. I mean, once I'm in the session or doing the actual newborn session, my mind is more like, okay, let's get this pose, let's do this. I have an assistant that works with me specifically for newborn sessions, so my mind is more focused on, okay, let's do the pose, let's utilize the most of the time to get the most poses in, to give the parents a good gallery. If baby's not liking this pose, okay, let's switch, let's try a different pose. Really make the most of the time. But it's not until those pictures are edited and I have the parents come back to me to view everything and to view all the images that were taken, that's when I'm like, that's when I really like, yay. 98% of mothers that come in, they cry. They're bawling. Like, oh, look at my baby. And I'm like standing there like, don't cry, Kai. Don't cry. Don't cry. I mean, I am the worst. Like, if you start crying, I'm going to start crying. Like, I will watch anything and start crying. So once they're crying.
Me, both pregnancies, emotional mess. Why am I crying on this commercial?
Right? Watching the most random show. Why am I crying? I don't know. But yes, but I would say that's when I really, really, I feel like that's when I get that's the reward for me, just seeing how excited they are, how appreciative they are from the photo. Sometimes they're like, when the heck did you even take this photo? And I'm just like, yeah, man, we just keep moving here. We just keep going. So that's the best part.
That's good. So like for parents who haven't had the experience of taking their newborn to get photos done, what do you like recommend, or like what are some tips that you would like to give them a heads up on before they like do it or plan it?
The first thing I would say is you really want to look at the photographer's work. I mean, it's very understandable that everyone has to start somewhere. So everyone's photography images may not be on the same level. But when I say look at their work, is if I do a shoot, I'm going to post about maybe 2 to 3 images from that session on my social media pages. Now, most of the times it's either 2 to 3 images that I really like. They may be images that I feel were the best from that session, or they just may just be images that I'm just like, oh, this is so cute, and I have to post it. But when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're not just looking at the photographers. Let's say we're using Instagram and you come across a photographer's page that you like. You don't want to just look at the first 2 lines of their page and be like, oh yes, I love this, and move forward. Scroll down, look at past sessions, see differences. Is there something that you like? Because one thing you don't want to do is, let's say you're a photographer, Shannon, I'm a photographer. I'm not going to come to you, or I shouldn't be coming to you and saying, oh, I see your work, but I like Kai's style of work, so I want you to do Kai's style of work for me. That's a big no.
It's like telling another artist, do it more like this artist. No, this is my art, and you're just bringing your child, and I want to create art with it.
Exactly. And I mean, every photographer is going to have their certain style that they prefer. You have photographers that they like more of a moody look, light and airy, more shadows, less shadows. So you want to make sure you're choosing a photographer where their style of images works for you, and you're not more going to them to say, okay, I like you, but I want you to do this person's work. It's just not right. That's a big thing. It's just not right. And also just someone that you you feel you're going to be comfortable with. Like for me myself, when customers reach out to me, I have a phone conversation with all of them. Number one, discuss pricing in detail. I never want any surprises. So when they come to me and it's time to order their products, they know what they're going to be spending, or they know the range of my price and so forth. So you want someone that's going to be transparent with you. The last thing you want is to get so excited you're going to have this newborn shoot and your son or daughter did all these pictures, and then you go and then you're like, oh, well, this isn't what I expected. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
We all know babies are expensive. It's not cheap with all the diapers and the wipes and everything. So we get that. So I like to be transparent, as I mentioned, because that allows you and or their partner to really sit down with each other and say, okay, is this what we want to spend, or is this not what we want to spend? And if they don't want to spend that, I completely understand. But if they do, then all good and well, let's move forward. But there's just things you definitely want to look out for. If you see a pose that you might like from another photographer, ask the photographer if they know how to do that pose. Not to say necessarily you want them to duplicate someone's work, but if like we have a pose that we call froggy, which is pretty much where the hands are under the baby's chin and it looks like the baby's holding themselves up. Again, that's another... Sorry?
I've seen that one before.
Yes. So again, that's an illusion. Baby actually isn't holding themselves up, and it's actually two images put together to make the one. But if you know you like that pose and you haven't seen it posted on a photographer's page, you don't want to go to the session and then be like, hey, I saw this post. Can you do this? No, you need to ask that prior to the session. If you know that that's a pose that you really love, you need to ask if they know how to do that, because if they do know how to do it, they'll say, yeah, I know how to do it. Or they may say, yes, I do it, I don't do it often, or they may tell you, no, I don't do it. And for someone that may be a deal breaker, they may say, oh, I really want this picture. So you kind of have to do your research at the same time.
So does the length of a session depend on how many poses a person wants?
No. So I don't actually number the poses.
Okay.
So I just entirely go with the flow, and we'll just go with the time period that we have. So like I said, if that baby comes in and is super sleepy, then I might be done that session in, let's say, an hour and a half, and I might say, okay, let's throw in 2 more poses, and we'll just set up 2 more poses or 2 more setups or looks for that baby. Or if the baby is a little bit more fussy, we might not have as much as the baby that came previously. My goal is to always have enough images to give you an option of purchasing an album if you wanted an album. If your baby's super fussy and I got like 10 pictures, which hasn't happened, let me knock on wood again, which hasn't happened. But if that was the case, then I know when that parent comes back, I can't give them an album as an option. I know I can say, okay, you can choose your wall art, or you can choose this. But because of my past clientele that I've had, and majority of them are looking for an album because that's my best-selling product so far. So they want an album that has all those images in it and so forth. So that's usually what my aim when I'm shooting. That's my aim. My aim is to be able to fill a gallery that can provide you with an album. Yeah, so you might end up with 8 looks, 10 looks, whatever the case may be. But let's say in one look, you might have 2 different angles, which can give you 2 completely different looks. So I can give you a start off, like, for example, my albums are 20 pages, starting at 20 pages. So you're already having more than 20 images in that album.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good amount too. So when it comes to, let's say, how far you plan ahead, like how far you booked until you start seeing if there's more clients to bring in and things like that?
I only take a number of clients a month. I should say a number of newborn clients.
Okay.
Maternity and like first birthdays and that stuff, I can kind of squeeze in more. But newborns, I only take a certain amount a month just because you never know when your baby's going to arrive. Your baby could be early, your baby could be late, your baby could be due on the due date. You just don't know. And limiting the newborns to a certain amount a month allows me to be flexible with my schedule. So I may be like, okay, this baby was due this week, but this baby's not here yet, but this baby came early, so we'll do this baby this week and so forth. So it just allows space, because at the same time, a lot of times you have parents, they want to be involved in the shoot. They have siblings that may want to be involved with the shoot. And I only do newborn shoots on weekdays. So if the partner's not off work, they need to arrange a day to be off work, or they need to take the kids out of school, or whatever the case may be. So just having more options, it helps them decide the day to move forward, and also helps me work with them to find a day that works for both of us.
Okay. This sounds like a lot of planning.
It is.
A lot of preparation.
It is. I actually, before we started this call, I was actually in my basement setting up, because I have a little girl coming in tomorrow. So I do all my like actual setups the night before, so that when the morning comes, everything is pretty much, the little sets are all in their little piles, and my assistant comes and I say, okay, we're doing this, and when they come in, then we get started.
That's good, because I'm a mom of two, and the only thing that helps my brain in the morning is the night before setup for the day of. That is very important. And when it comes to like outfits or things that makes it easier for you to go through different shoots and poses, what type of fabrics or outfits do you recommend parents think about?
So I actually tell parents not to bring anything. I provide everything. So all those little cute little pictures and so forth you see, all those props and accessories, they're all mine.
Okay. So in the pre-question before they get to the shoot, are you asking them like, is there anything that your baby is allergic to, or does your baby have like any skin irritations and things like that?
So I don't have that on the form, just because majority of parents that are booking with me, the baby hasn't arrived yet. So we don't really know if that's the case. Now, if baby's born and parents write to me and say, baby, I have baby acne, or my baby has cradle cap, or whatever the case may be, I usually ask them to send me over a photo just so I can see the extent of it. And we can decide if we want to push it back, or if we just want to look at it, because as a parent, they're just like, oh my gosh, baby acne, I don't want this for the photo, or whatever the case may be. But when they send me the photo, I'm like, oh, that's okay, Photoshop got this, and just come with the baby. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so they don't know. But in regards to like the props and accessories, when they're filling out their booking form, there are sections on my forms that will say, okay, are you looking for something more colors? Are you looking for neutral colors? Are you looking for a mix? There's an option that says, I give you creative freedom, which is probably what 97% of people choose. They're like, you do your thing, I love your work, just do it. And there's a section where they can let me know, like, if this is a rainbow baby, was this baby born after losing another baby, a miscarriage, or is there something you absolutely don't like? Like, I'll have parents be like, I want you to do anything you want to do, just no orange. And I'll be like, okay, good to know. So things like that really give me an idea. But as I mentioned before, when it comes to photographers and their style of work, I feel if you're coming to me and you're booking with me, you'd like the style of work that you've seen on my page. So when you say I give you creative freedom, I'm looking at is okay, run with it, do your style, but just let me know if there's a color you hate. I don't want to prepare this whole purple setup and then you come and you're like, oh, I hate purple. Because at the end of the day, they're your photos. I might be like, oh, but this purple setup would be so cute. But you'd be like, no, but I don't like purple. So if I know beforehand, then I mean, it's good to know. I've also parents where I've put and I actually had this one mom, she was like, I don't know. In my mind, I was like, oh, this is really so cute. Yes, but I mean, it's really simple when I say put it together. So I might have like the basket there and the blankets I'm gonna use and the little head tie I'm gonna use. So I'll put it to start using it now. And she was like, I don't really know if I like this. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, this is gonna look so nice. But at the same time, if you don't like it, you don't like it. So I said to her, I'm like, okay, you know, what kind of basket did you like? And she was like, she pulled up my work and she was like, I kind of like that basket better. I said to her, so I made a deal. I was like, okay, so we'll do your basket. And if she's still knocked out like this and she allows me to, I'll do this one as well. At the end of the day, there's no obligation for you to choose this picture in one of your finals. Yeah. So I did it. And it actually ended up being one of her favorite photos. I was like, what? You didn't even want me to do this, and now you love it.
Kind of like trust the artist. Like you've seen the work.
Exactly.
Just trust me that I know what this is going to come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I'm photographing babies, I look at it as these are my children. So in my mind, I'm putting together the little best of the best little setups that I would love to see my little ones in, right? So I feel like if it's good enough for my children to be in as a parent, it's good enough for everyone's other child to be in, because you, as a parent, you only want the best for your kids, right?
Right.
So I just treat every little one like they're mine, because they really are mine for like the 2 to 4 hours. Parents do it.
That's what I would want. Like if I'm leaving my kids with someone to watch them throughout the day, I want you to take care of them as if I was there. So I completely get that. Yeah,
exactly.
That makes lots of sense. So if someone wanted to book with you or schedule in to get like pictures done with their baby or their other siblings, where would they find you and how would they get in contact?
So my website is www.kcmimages.com. And I am on Instagram, which is KCM_images. Those are the 2 pages that I use the most. I do have a Facebook page as well, which is linked to my Instagram. So anything that I post on Instagram will go straight to my Facebook page. And that's KCM Images GTA. I should mention for anyone listening, I'm located in Canada. So that's where I am based. Yeah. But there's definitely opportunities, if booked in advance, to go to other places to do shoots. I've had inquiries from people in New York, people in Connecticut. I had someone message me from Jamaica last week. So anything is possible, but it's definitely something that would have to be done in advance. Like if you were to be like, oh, I just had my baby, can you come to me? I'm going to be like, no, not really. Because I also have 2. So I have to schedule with them, make sure their dad can watch them. If he can't watch them, my mom needs to help him, or, whatever the case may be. So it's something that takes a little bit more time. If you're further away versus someone that's like, oh, I'm a half an hour drive, then they just come to me as normal as everyone else.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing all this good information with me. Even though I did not get newborn pictures, I kind of feel like I have more of insight, just in case like a friend might ask or a stranger might ask or inquire about getting newborn pictures. And I think it's something people think, oh, I'm going to get this done because it's cute, when really that you're wanting to get something done that requires lots of planning. So it's kind of like, be considerate that people do have time, and don't inquire about it if you're not serious about following through and all of that. So,
and I mean, it happens. I've had people that have been like, oh, I want to do newborn pictures, and then or I should say maternity, then they disappear. Then they come back when the baby's born. Can we do newborn? And then they disappear. And then they come back, well, the baby's 1. And at this point, I don't want to say I'm like turning you away, but at this point, like, there's a pattern. You're gonna disappear, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, listen, I told you all the information. It's all the same. Not trying to be rude or anything, but if you want to move forward, let me know, because then there's people that are genuinely like, please, I heard you only have 1 spot. I need that last spot. And I'm just like, no booking session, no booking fees. There's no spot. I mean, I feel as a business, you have your trials and errors. You have the times when you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to be super nice. you don't have a session fee now, that's fine. You can just give it to me when you come for the session. Then I do my whole setup and no one shows up.
See,
right?
that's what's hard. And I was just talking about this. When you're creative, it's kind of like you have to give yourself a safety net where you take some sort of deposit so you don't feel like you spread yourself too thin.
For sure. So with me now, I will send you your booking forms, which will have all the information that I need to set up for your shoot. And once you receive that, I'll send you an invoice for your session fee. If I do not get that session fee, it will be canceled. Your session will be canceled. That is it. I will cancel your invoice. You will have to ask me for one. It's just something, I mean, with the business, it's all trial and error. Even just life itself is trial and error. So as I go along, I learn, and I've just found like you cannot be super, super nice to like.
You can. I mean, people take advantage of it.
Exactly. Personality wise, of course, you can be super nice. And any client that comes here, you can ask them. They come, we talk, we laugh. I've had clients confide in me, tell me information, and I'm happy that they're comfortable with me. But before we can get there, I mean, you gotta send me the booking fee.
Yeah.
And then we can get to that point.
Yeah, that's very important. Well, it was nice speaking with you about this topic.
Thank you for having me.
I hope more people, go forward and get pictures done, because the one thing I've learned having 2 kids is they grow super fast.
Tell me about it.
And not to wait too long, because I don't think like people that are under 30 really respect, having photos of babies growing up and kids. I think they're more into, let me take a cute picture and post it on Instagram. Stop! There's more!
Stop! There's
More.
more!
What I was saying is, I just want people to, go out their way and take more hard copy pictures and respect, photographers' work when they come into their environment and they're working to just let them get like the best moments of their kids, because that's all you have with kids and people's lives are moments. And I respect lots of people who can capture like the essence of what your child is at certain moments in life.
And as you said, like, people now, everything is very digitalized, and I've had many people reach out to me in regards to pictures, and they'll be like, well, what if I just want digitals? And when I was starting, I did offer more digitals, but I guess with what you're saying, maybe it's something for the younger generation where everything is just like, I just want to share online. Where now I'm like, no, you need to have an album, or you need to have some print. Like my mom, she was always a photo person. So we can go and grab the old photo albums and look through them and laugh and be like, Lord, why was my hair like this? Why was I in this outfit? What is going on? But when you have digitals, you eventually forget about them. I mean, you share it on Instagram. Instagram is a nice app for now, but what happens when Instagram is gone? What happens when we move to a next app, and then we move to a next app? And if you're not saving these images, they're gone, right?
Yeah, and like, or you have like many heart attacks. Oh my God, I deleted this. Oh my God.
Exactly.
And that's like, you don't have to do that if you just print the pictures
if you got the album. Yeah, and my albums, the pictures actually pressed into the page. So, I mean, it's really a really nice, luxurious item that can be kept, but then the quality of it as well, as you mentioned, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, like the quality of my products, it's something that's meant to be passed down from generation to generation to generation. And you know what, it's also the value of the work. I had a friend that I did a shoot with, her and her mother. It was a Mother's Day, and I did a shoot for her and her mom for her mom's birthday, and they loved the photo, and she purchased an album. and she purchased the album for the mom. So when the mom came to see the photos, the mom thought she was getting ready to order, but her daughter had already pre-purchased this album. So I surprised her with the album. She cried and she loved it. But what happened is her dad actually got ill, and she wanted to do a shoot with her dad as well. And the time just got cold and so forth. And sadly, her father passed away. I believe it was the January. Mother's Day was in May, and he passed away in January. And she was like, I really wish I got to do that shoot. And that just goes back to that value of, I mean, we all know we're not going to be on earth forever. We're going to go one day, but it's nice to have something to look back and be like, man, I remember when we did this shoot, or, when we did this, or even look how small the baby was. Time just goes by so fast. We get caught up working. We get caught up doing everything. And as you mentioned earlier, they grow so fast, so fast.
Yeah, you want to capture that, and you want to be able to keep that. Like, even my kids, they'll go around the house and they'll go on my bookshelf and they'll pull out albums. And my 2-year-old is like, "Is that me? Is that me?" I'm
right?
Like, "No, Ari, that's not you. You weren't around yet." And then she'll see a whole album of just Anya. And it puts a lot of pressure on me now, because I'm just like,
because you gotta have an album for her.
Yeah, I can't make it look like I have a favorite child, so I have to get an album for her. And so I don't know, I'm just constantly taking pictures, and you always have like those pictures that you would never like put out to the public, but they mean you as like,
which is them in the bathtub.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't wait till they turn 16 so I can embarrass them.
Right?
That'd be perfect. So yeah, like, I appreciate people like you who, can really just get in there and know what you're doing and actually love your work. I think the key to doing the work that you do is actually loving the images you create for other people.
For sure. I mean, when you love it, you put your all into it, right? I want them to leave here saying, oh my gosh, I love this. And as much as when they're looking at the pictures and they're crying and I'm standing there like, don't cry, Kai, don't cry, Kai. Once I see the tears flowing, I feel like you did your job. You did your job. They're feeling it. They're loving it. This is what they expected. Sometimes I hear this more than what they expected. So that just lets me know that I did what I needed to do. And I think that's why I also mentioned to you that that's the most rewarding part for me, because it's one thing for me to like the images when I'm editing and be like, oh, this is so cute. But if you don't like it and they're your images, then it's like I kind of failed, right? Mm-hmm. But when you come and you see everything and you're crying and you're emotional and you love it and you're like, yes, I want an album, I can't wait, and you can't wait to show it to your family and your friends, that lets me know that I've done what I needed to do.
That's perfect. Well, I wish you more good sessions and a lot more new clients. Anyone listening, please plan ahead. Don't be a last minute pop in. I want to get my baby and the pressure's on, and just plan it out and just have fun and enjoy your baby while they're newborns, because 3 months is coming, 6 months is coming, and so on and so on. But thank you, Kai, for doing this episode with us.